Hello, it's 9 p.m. in RTD. It's time to English New Edition. For tonight headlines, we have the head of state participate in the funerals of the late Almis Mahmoud Haid. For the national scene, South Africa at the polls to elect their deputies ANC's favorite. Welcome to our newsroom. The President of the Republic, Ismail Margele, take part in the funerals of Almis Mahmoud Haid. The President of the Republic, His Excellency Ismail Margele, took part on Wednesday mornings at Peka 12 Cemetery at the funeral of the late Almis Mahmoud Haid, the Director of the Djiboutian Civil Aviation Authority. A large crowd from the four corners of the city of Djibouti accompanied the deceased High State Clerk to his last home. Neither the very early morning schedule nor the Ramadan context in which the funeral took place did not get the bearers of the Djiboutians who came in mass to pay a last tribute to the very one who often is referred to the images of a familiar figure, family to all parts of our nation. The burial of the late Almis Mahmoud Haid was preceded by a funeral prayers on his remains in the Pika 13 Salama Mosque. The deceased last Sunday in France. At the age of 69-year-old, the late Almis Mahmoud Haid was appreciated by all for his greatness of heart and his spontaneity in providing support. He came from a well-known family in Djibouti with prominent figures including the First Lady, President of the UNFD, Ms. Khadra Mahmoud Haid. The deceased senior public officials leaves behind him a widow and 3 children. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un.
اللهم وفقه يا رب العالمين واجعل قبره روضة من رياض الجنة ولا تجعلها حفرة من حفر النار يا رب العالمين. اللهم لا تحرمنا أجره ولا تفتنا بعده واغفر لنا وله وشفعنا فيه يا رب يا أرحم الراحمين يا ذا الجلال والإكرام. إلهي قبورة المسلمين تندمات اللهم نحرس نجنا إلهي إنه قدم النحرس صلى اللهم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم.
The new Minister of Health, Mohammed Warsama Diriye, has chaired an important meetings yesterday on the implementation of the response plan against the resurgence of malaria in Djibouti. Indeed, the discussion is focused on ways and means to reinforce the multifaceted and intersectoral struggle against the recent outbreak of malaria. It should be noted that this meeting took place in the presence of the Secretary General, Dr. Salah Benita Turab, and all the central directors and directors of the cross-departmental programs of the Department of Health. It is a broad response plan that combines larval destruction activity, especially in-house spraying actions, the distribution of kit mosquito with impregnated mosquito net, as well as preventive actions or sensitization session carried out at the local level areas deemed to be at risk. Concerning curative care, the Minister of Health, Mr. Mohammed Warsama Diriye, welcomed the actual receipt of the dose of anti-malaria treatment, which correspond to the provisions of a full year at the country levels, while guaranteeing stock security for an additional 6 months. Finally, the Health Minister Mohammed Warsama Diriye called on all stakeholders to redouble their efforts to stop the spread of malaria in our country. The Minister of Women and Family, in close collaboration with the Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, organized this Sunday a round table of partners at the Institute of Diplomatic Studies in attendance of various donors and partners of development. The meeting chaired by the Minister of Women and Family, Mumina Hamid Hassan, and the Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Mahmoud Ali Yusuf, aim to mobilize the largest number of international and multilateral technical and financial partners with a view to associating them with the Ministry's priority project based on this theme, namely the empowerment of women, the protection and promotion of the rights of children and women, and the cohesion of the family. During this meeting, the guests were able to follow the major achievements of the Ministry of Enterprises during the last 3 years, followed by a presentation of a 3-year action plan, as well as the priority project identified as capital for achieving the sustainable development goal without the missions assigned to the Ministries of Women and Family. The Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mahmoud Ali Yusuf, co-chaired with the Minister of Women and Family, Mumina Hamid Hassan, the round tables with partners and representatives of donor. He said that the Ministry of Women is making sustained effort to promote women through the enlightened visions of the President of the Republic. The Minister of Women and Family, Mumina Hamid Hassan, thanked all international and multilateral technical financial partners for their participation in the round table to note the achievement and future prospect of policies for the advancement of women in Djibouti, which is supported by the President of the Republic and the First Lady, she said. The Secretary of State for Decentralization, Mr. Hamadou Mohamed Aramis, has received this Wednesday, May 8, 2019, at his office, the representative of the United Nations Organization for Agriculture and Food, FAO, Mr. Dade Mamo Bisson. During this meeting, which took place in the presence of the Secretary General, Mr. Mohamed Issa Faraj, and a senior FAO official, the Minister presented to his interlocutor the missions of his institutions, the current and project activities, as well as the challenges remaining to be met for his department to meet the expectations of the population and in line with the roadmap drawn by the President of the Republic, His Excellency Ismail Mergele, which makes the policy of decentralization at the priority of his government. He said to his interlocutor, the minister particularly drew the house's intentions to the basic needs of the rural population, which involves the rebuilding of livestock to reduce the risks of malnutrition and the need to help the transhumance systems to adapt to the transformation of induced by climate change. The president of the Djibouti Chamber of Commerce, Yusuf Musa Dawale, received an important Jordan delegation in visit to Djibouti for a few days and conducted by the ministers of industry and commerce. The delegation was welcomed by Yusuf Musa Dawale. On this occasion, the president of the Chamber of Commerce of Djibouti enumerated the service that the Chamber of Commerce offers in the field of investments. The Jordan delegation thanks the president for the ways of the Chamber of Commerce to be the exemplary hospitality offered to the delegation. It was recalled the place and role that could be those of the institution to support the development of trade in our country. He has expressed his wish to see the two countries exchange regularly on the country's economic concern. On this is a framework of consultation and dialogue. The reception takes place in the presence of the Djibouti ambassador in Jordan, resident in Kuwait, Mr. Mohammed Ali Mumin. It has been done more than 20 years since the towns of the Dekhil did not have a cooler. The merchants of the places were obliged to import from the capital to supply the city. Today, as we begin the blessed month of Ramadan, where there is a peak in demand for ice across the country, Dekhil has just inaugurated a new ice production unit. The commissioners of this unit is a breath of fresh. The ice packs sold in homes remained too inadequate to meet their needs. Yasin Elmis is a technician in cold. He takes care of all the process of transformation conservations at 10 degrees, but also the cell. The coolers has been running for a few weeks, but the demand has never been stronger than these first 2 days of Ramadan. Yasin explains the work of the work he does on a daily basis to help the Dekhil people in the access to ice at a lower cost. He said. The Secretary General of the Ministry of Women and Family, Anissa Hassan, has started her exchanges and discussions with the rural community of Ali Sabih region. The delegation was composed of Member of Parliament Roda Ahmed and councillors, Deputy of UNFD Ismail Muhammad, Vice President of the UNFD Ruqya Yusuf, and Ikram Ahmed, Head of Services of the Regional Office of the Ministry. This strong delegation was accompanied by the second deputy of the prefect, Khadar Idris Suge, the vice president of the regional council, Mr. Nur Said Geldon. In each locality, the ministries has set up economic and community organizations to promote women's economic empowerment. Thus, certain agro-pastoral and artisanal cooperatives will be launched during this tour. In addition, the ministry has handed over solar kits of newborns, mosquito nets, and food. The delegation first went to the locality of Dudubale in Ali Sabih region. Arriving in Dudubale, the delegation was warmly welcomed by the locals. The president of the mutual community took the floor at first to welcome the guests, to thank the ministries for having implemented the mutual community project in their locality. The officials took turns speaking to the community and responded to their doléances. The visit has closed with the delivery of health kits for newborns, as well as solar kits, food, and mosquito nets for the community. On Thursday, 2 April 2019, at the Regional Councils of Obok, the Ministry of Women and Family, represented by the Technical Advisor Mr. Hassan Ali Roble, in the presence of the Hassan Ali Robahe, in the presence of Ms. Fatuma Humed, representative of the Regional Councils and President of the Antenna of Obok's Unity, has handed over wheelchairs for special needs children from vulnerable families. Then the official went to the nurseries and community daycare in Fantiheru. After visiting the nurseries and the daycare, the delegation proceeded to the delivery of the furniture granted by the Ministry of Family, Women for the nursery and daycare. For the international scene, South Africa's ANC scene winning elections, but support sealing. Listen to the report.
The African National Congress faced its those electoral tests on Wednesday as it sought to reserve its lead in support from voters frustrated by grave and social inequality a generation after it won power in South Africa's first all-race poll. South Africa is holding a parliamentary and provincial election amid frustration with a lack of progress 25 years after Nelson Mandela's ANC swept to power at the end of white minority rule in 1994.
Iran scraps some commitment to nuclear deal. Listen to the report.
So it will stop implementing some key provisions of its 2015 nuclear deal with major powers. Russians say Iran had been provoked due to pressure from the US. Iran on Wednesday informed signatories to the 2015 Joint Comprehensive Plan of African JCPOA, a nuclear deal that it no longer planned to adhere to certain voluntary commitments made in the accord. The decision came after the USA dispatched a grave strike group to the Middle East to send clear and unmistakable message to Tehran.
This is it for the news. Thanks for watching us.